to Smash Writing, and today we are third time lucky here with Phantasm 3 Lord of the Dead.
You're dead and
This was supposed to go up last Wednesday, but the audio, like our channel has never been great with audio the last few months, but the audio was real bad on that. I couldn't put it out there. So, new microphone, hopefully it'll be better. In the meantime, we're still on the road to Phantasm. Phantasm 3, Lord of the Dead. Without further ado, let's dive in and talk about the story then, shall we? This movie kicks up from two different perspectives. You have Mike in a hospital bed, and you have the tall man in his mausoleum watching on. And we get some flashbacks and a reminder. The flashbacks of the series so far. Reminder that Jodie was killed in a car accident. And time to pick up where Phantasm 2 left off, which was with Mike and the blonde woman, I believe her name is Lisa, being driven away in the back of a hearse with Reggie helpless on the outside. We pick up with Reggie. Luckily, that hearse doesn't get too far, as it gets around the bend and then goes up in a fireball. He runs through the field to get there faster. He gets there in time to fight off some little creatures, and we find the woman has been eliminated in the fireball. Mike and the 4-barrel shotgun had been blown from the car. They're ablaze in the field, which is good because Reggie ends up needing that 4-barrel shotgun to fight him off as he tries to get Mike out of there. But they're quickly surrounded by the little creatures and the tall man. But Reggie pulls a grenade and threatens to just blow everyone up. This upsets the tall man. He wants Mike whole. So for the time being, he retreats and lets them go. And Reggie takes Mike to the hospital. A nurse comes into the room when Reggie's not there. And she's almost like ushering and whispering at him to go into the light. And we see Mike heading into the light, and he's stopped by Jodie, or at least Jodie tries to stop him. He keeps going. He only comes back and wakes up whenever he encounters the tall man in the light. And that wakes him up, and we find the nurse lady is a zombie worker for the tall man and tries to attack him. Reggie comes in just in time to get splattered with yellow goo to the face. And he gets Mike the hell out of there. And they're speeding away from the hospital, but Mike has him stopped because for a moment he actually sees Jodie's ghost on the side of the road. And Reggie stops him and then goes, "Wait, what am I doing? Jodie's gone. We gotta get the hell out of here." And they go back to the one room where they find Jodie waiting. And Jodie had to expend a lot of power to find them, and it unfortunately puts the tall man on the radar and zeroes in on where they're at. Because Jodie is a sphere now. Tall man busts in. He turns the Jodie sphere into like the stone. He flings Reggie aside, knocking him out, and then he telekinetically forces Mike to come along with him. And by the time Reggie wakes up, they're gone. He grabs the Jodie sphere, though, and has just enough left in him to tell him to go to Holtzville. So, off to Holtzville he goes. And he finds another deserted town with this one woman who's looting and just starts firing a gun randomly in the air. This is almost a distraction, though, as two of her goons come up behind him, knock Reggie out, and they shove him in the back of the Cuda. And they're going to take him out and dump him outside of town. But along their way, we're going to call these three blonde muscles in suit jacket, just because they will crop up here from time to time. Not quite for very long, though, here, though. They find a house that they would like to raid. The three go up, and they believe it's just two old people inside of it, but they're actually dummies. And they've entered a murder house. And it is all run by this little kid boy named, I believe his name is Tim. We'll call him Tim. No, we won't. We're going to figure this out. We are going to figure it out what this kid's name is. His name is Tim. Anyway, Tim puts up a bit of a fight. He stabs the suit coat guy in the leg with the tomahawk before chucking it at Muscles, and he inadvertently takes out the blonde woman. Then the Muscles gets taken out with a frisbee with razors on it, and blonde guy falls into a pit trap. And that is the end of them. Tim lets Reggie out, and Reggie helps him bury the bodies in the yard. And we find out that Tim has been on his own. His dad was the sheriff and the first man the tall man took. And we see flashbacks of Tim waiting beside his dad's grave for someone, anyone, to come cover up the grave. His dad was the first one eliminated. And his mom came to collect him, and they both saw the tall man taking the body, and she ran over to stop him. But zombie dad forced her into the coffin. Tall man took them both, and Tim barely made it out. And so far, and he pretty much just watched his town die. The next day, they go to leave the house to find that the pink hearse the three were driving and the three cadavers are now gone. So Reggie gets Tim out of town and he wants to drop him off at this makeshift orphanage, but Tim doesn't want to. He wants to go and fight the tall man for what happened to him. But Reggie does try to ditch him at this orphanage. But Tim stows away in the trunk, unbeknownst to Reggie, who goes to the mausoleum. And there he actually gets into a fight with Silver Sphere, but before he can actually do anything, he's taken down by these two women who handcuff him and gag him momentarily. And the sphere gets one of them, I believe her name is Sinesha? And the other one is Rocky, who's fighting it off with these nunchucks before Tim comes in and finishes it off. Rocky does not want to go with them. She has business in her town to contend with. So it's just Reggie and Tim. Reggie has given up on the idea of dropping Tim off anywhere, knowing that he's not going to be able to stop him from following. But they don't have any direction, so luckily they get it from the Jody Ball, who shows them the way to go. And along the way, they again find Rocky. And together, using the maps, they figure out their next point of progress is a town called Bolton that has the largest Gothic mausoleum in the West. So dollars to donuts, that's where the tall man's going. So they head into town and are not there for 2 minutes before they are, before they get to Bolton, they stop for a hotel so Reggie can try to get some from Rocky. Gets turned down, and now it's off to Bolton, where the moment they get into town, they're fought off by gravediggers, and they're forced to retreat, and they have to camp outside of town and come up with a better plan. While Reggie's asleep, though, his dream is invaded and interrupted by Jody. He's like, we need to go save Mike now. And he's able to take him through a portal and to a mausoleum where Mike is being held. And they manage to free him from it, and he's running off, and then Reggie wakes up. And there are two metal forks, just like the first movie. And Mike comes crashing through them. And Reggie closes the circuits like he did in the first movie to shut the door before the tall man can come through. His hands get cut off and they create these little monsters, but they fight them off pretty well. And they decide that they're going to continue on to the mausoleum because they figure, let's hide in plain sight. Where's the last place tall man will look for them? There's a mausoleum. The trip there does not go smoothly, though, as they're attacked by the three from before. Blonde, muscles, and suit jacket, but the shotgun takes quick work of the blonde, and the other two flip their hearse. And it's off to the mausoleum, where they separate within the mausoleum. Because that's always the smart move. I don't know where you think you're going. Come back. Off to the mausoleum where they separated, and Mike has the Jody ball sitting on his spear, and he wants Jody to please teach him what he knows. So they go off together in this vision world kind of deal. And we see the tall man is working away on a little creature kind of deal, a body. And it's becoming a little creature that he uses. And they run off of impulses and nerves that the tall man controls. While their brains are shrunken down and put into the spheres. And that's how the spheres are controlled. And that's what happened with Jody and how Jody ended up in one of the silver spheres. And they're doing this because the tall man will enter a world much like Earth. And then using a army of the dead, they do it to conquer the planet they're on. And we see hundreds and thousands of spheres above him. And they all turn around and look at Mike. He can see them. And when Mike wakes up, he is tied down to the table he was laying on. And Tim is captured pretty quickly, and he's wheeled off. Reggie is attacked by the blonde momentarily, while Muscles is dealing with Rocky, and he figures she's done for, so he goes off. And uh, Tim, using the Jody ball that Tom had put on his table, cuts his restraints, and then is attacked by Muscles and Suit Jacket. Whereas Reggie is still fending off the blonde. He gets help from Rocky to dismiss of her, and then the Jody ball takes care of Muscles, and Reggie shows up to help take out Suit Jacket with his shotgun. And together they go in and stop the tall man doing his procedure with Mike. No, where he injects him full of the yellow goo and stuff like that. And they rush him into the cold freezer because they remembered earlier that he doesn't like the cold. And he starts to freeze up and brittle inside the freezer, and a giant gold sphere shoots out of his head and crashes through the door and is chasing them down. Actually goes through the blonde woman's face to put her down finally. And then using a plunger, Tim, Rocky, and Reggie managed to fight it into this giant metal cylinder full of liquid nitrogen, I want to say, that they use for freezing cadavers. And they're all a little bit happy, but it turns out they stopped the process with Mike halfway through. He's already halfway transformed, and he runs off. And Jody goes after him, telling Reggie, "Don't believe everything you see. You'll know in time." And then Rocky, she's gone. She's like, no more. Over my head. I'm out of here. Leaving just Reggie and Tim, who return to the mausoleum to try to find any clues to help Mike. When Tim notices that the metal freezer unit that the sphere was in is tipped over now. And Reggie is pinned up against the corner of the room with the silver spheres all over him. And the tall man comes in. And Tim is grabbed, and we cut to black, and that is the story of Phantasm 3. Okay, let's talk about pros and cons of Phantasm 3, shall we? I'm not quite sure why they switched off from the little creatures that we've been dealing with to the zombies. They never really took full advantage of the zombies in this movie. They look good, but so did the little guys too. So I feel like, while it was an okay decision to give him more soldiers, I feel like they could have played up a little bit more with them. I do like the fact that we got some answers. We now know what the tall man is doing. This is all for world domination, and his army is far greater than any one of them could have really predicted at this point, despite the fact that he's cleared out all these graveyards. And to find out it's not just the little creatures that are part of the body process, but the spheres too. I thought that was a nice touch and a nice little addition to what they actually are. I was really into Rocky as a character here. Gloria Lynn Henry did an excellent job as with Rocky and bringing some life into her. She was a really nice breath of fresh air in this franchise. So was Kevin Connors, who played Tim. So I felt it was a little weird adding another child. It's like, did Mike grow up and we need another kid here? But with that little thing out of the way, he did make a good addition. And Reggie has grown on me a little bit here. He's not completely the biggest fan of him, but he was much better. And I find that I like Reggie when he's by himself than when he's with other people. It's just weird. We'll talk about more on that down the line. But he is much more tolerable when it's really just by himself. But at the end of the day, this is still Angus Scrimm's movie. He rolls, just kills it, knocks it out of the park. You could tell his love of this character, and he brings such a presence to him in this movie. And all of these movies so far at this point. You could copy and paste that same line for every one of these movies. Angus Scrimm is the man. And as much as I don't like another gotcha ending, at least this one gave us the answers we wanted to, and we have Mike now on the run, and we don't know what's going on with that. We've got the addition of knowing what the tall man is doing now, so we got some answers. So I feel like it was in a better place than what we've been dealing with so far in the Phantasm series. End of the day, let's give it a B-. Still enjoyable. No, scratch that. Let's call it a B plus. B plus feels much better than a B minus because it was enjoyable to watch. I can watch this movie again easily, and it was still a fun ride we're on in the Phantasm universe. And with that said, all right then, have a good day and bye bye.